So the entire WNBA is the bad boy Pistons against Caitlin Clark. This play from Kennedy Carter in particular will be talked about as she just shoulder checks Caitlin Clark to the floor. A cheap shot, really. Wasn't even called a flagrant foul. And you can see on Caitlin's face, she's like, come on. One of many times she's just kind of been hit this year. And look, physicality is what sometimes happens to superstars. It's a way to try to psych out the opponent. They were once known as the Jordan rules. It's a reason I referenced the bad boy Pistons. So people might call it hate, if you will, jealousy, if you will. I call it respect. I call it respect. Now, it's got to get under control. You know, they can't just allow everybody to be hitting Clark every game and not calling fouls and stuff like that. I'm not saying this should be, you know, something that is commonplace in the league, but it's a sign of respect for Caitlin Clark and what they believe her abilities to be, if we're being real about it. And it's funny. I mean, it's even on the bench. During that play that I just showed you, Angel Reese looked like she was celebrating as soon as that contact was made. Look, Reese gets up off the floor or off the bench to clap and applaud her teammate. And I talked about this last game. Clark was getting hit with hard fouls that they weren't even calling around the basket. Like, the refs weren't even calling the fouls. But that was Michael Jordan. That's the story. That's what everybody who waxes poetic about MJ when you're having the LeBron Jordan debates talks about. Bill Laimbeer and those bad boy Pistons. And in some ways, Clark is Michael Jordan and LeBron James, right? Because she's Michael Jordan in the sense that she's a generational figure for women's basketball who may change the game forever from a cultural phenomenon standpoint. And she's LeBron James in the sense that she's talked about every day and everybody's got an opinion and she's got lots of haters going on around her. So the comment section, I promise you, will light up about this. But it's not even just these hard fouls either. It's not even just the hard fouls. It's the way that Caitlin Clark is being defended. This is the ultimate sign of respect. Check out this statistic right here. This statistic right here. The WNBA defenses are doing what makes sense versus rookie point guard with so much responsibility for offense. They're blitzing Caitlin Clark. She's been blitzed 57 times on ball screens. That was going into the game against the Chicago Sky, which is more than any other WNBA team, let alone any other player. So if that isn't a sign of respect, I don't know what is. They want anybody else to beat you. Anybody else to beat them. They're doing everything in their power to get the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands. And so some of the turnovers come as a result of that, right? Like you get blitzed that often as a rookie and your teammates aren't, beating it consistently, or you're not always making the right reads, or you're not always in complete sync. There's going to be some turnovers, especially when you have the ball as much as Caitlin Clark does have the ball. But between the way she's being roughed up to try to be intimidated and the way she's being defended, that is the utmost respect. That's more respect than I've ever seen any player get going into any league, even if you can construe the physicality as a sign of disrespect. But look, it needs to get put under control, but I get it. And here's the thing. Caitlin is toughing through it. She's persevering through it. She gets frustrated at times, but she is a competitor. That is the coolest thing about it. She's a competitor. She eats it and keeps going. She had 11 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists against the Sky. She hit her first couple threes, then didn't shoot the ball that well. But the key in that game and the win against Angel Reese in the Sky was that her teammates did help her out. She got help from the Indiana Fever teammates. And when one player is getting that much attention, is getting blitzed that much, if the other players can contribute and help out, the Fever will start winning some games. Now, it stinks that Fag Benley's been out, but they had a couple other players step up in this one. I think particularly Nalissa Smith and Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston was only 4 of 14 from the floor, but that was probably her best game to me. I've questioned the fit between Boston and Clark due to pace and play style, but Boston just played hard and was a physical presence in that game, made some good reads as a passer as well. And Nalissa Smith is really talented. I think Nalissa Smith might be the second most talented player on the team from an overall skill set perspective. She can score, she can handle, she can shoot, she's got size. 17 points, 9 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals for Smith. If she can consistently defend and rebound, that's going to be a big deal for them. What they really need is a 3-and-D player. They need constant and consistent contributions from those other players on the floor. Wallace and Katie Lou Samuelson, who finally knocked down a 3 in this one when it actually mattered, 1 of 2 from 3. Wallace has to shoot the ball a little bit better from the outside when she's open. And then Kelsey Mitchell got going as a scorer as well. So, instead of it being 1 or 2 players, you had 18 points from Mitchell, 17 points from Smith, 10 from Boston, 10 from Wallace, 11 from Clark. And not, coincidentally, an Indiana Fever win. Not coincidentally, an Indiana Fever win. And Caitlin Clark gets the best of Angel Reese in their first pro matchup. Reese did not have a great shooting game, just 2 of 9 from the floor. She rebounds. I mean, there's no question. Angel Reese is a rebounding machine. 13 boards in that one. She hits the offensive glass like no other. 8 rebounds on the offensive end. Camila Cardosa with her WNBA debut. She's just so big. She's skilled enough for her size. She's so big, it's going to make a difference. And that will be a fun tandem in the front court for the Sky going forward. Just how much they're going to be able to gobble up the rebounds and dominate physically. But they weren't able to get the win over the Fever today. Perhaps the best all-around team effort from Indiana all season long. And Caitlin Clark, toughs it out. Toughs it out again. When you consider the condensed schedule they've had to play, on top of the type of teams they've had to play, on top of the extra attention she is getting, there's no way anyone can ever question CeCe's toughness. I mean, and I've had people in the comment section say, you Colt Clark fans, like I've discussed the Clark fandom that I think is irrational. I didn't come into this as a cultist Caitlin Clark fan. I'm a basketball fan. And I appreciate greatness and I appreciate her perseverance. And they got to corral that you can't just keep taking she eventually she's going to get hurt. But like I said, it's a sign of respect. And I get it. Like that's been bad, from the beginning of time when you're trying to intimidate a great player, you try and rough them up, hence the Jordan rules. And whenever you have a LeBron Jordan argument, people always go back to the days of Michael Jordan. They're like, look what he had to go through. Now, LeBron would have lowered his shoulder and maybe put Bill Laimbeer through the basket considering his size. But it, in a sense, was viewed as a rite of passage for Michael Jordan. And in this case, I guess, for Caitlin Clark, who is the equivalent to MJ when it comes to the women's game. So it may be viewed as hate and disrespect, but really what it is the ultimate respect for Caitlin Clark.